All right, welcome to What the Fox. Today we are with Jobe Neal from Digital Difference Makers. Welcome, Jobe. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks for having me on. So I've got a marketing consultancy and agency hybrid. So we've got like the done with you services of helping. We work with coaches, consultants, and other experts to help them share their expertise on social media, build a following, and start getting clients. And then we've got some done for you services around video editing, launching podcasts, some other sort of graphic design stuff, but we mainly focus on like the organic side of getting clients. So we just offer, the done with you services and done for you services. So hopefully that sort of gives a clear overview without going into all of the different products and stuff that we have.
So you've got the done with you, done for you, more organic style, and then I'll take over for the ads whenever they're ready to do ads and
Exactly. Because now they know exactly what they should be spending money on.
Exactly, because you really shouldn't run ads until you actually have a verification of what your product is anyway, and that it's going to actually make you some money.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
So I have a list of 50 questions for you to pick from. They start with easy questions and they get harder. And the higher you go up, the harder it is. I'll end with the same 4 questions that I'm going to ask everybody. So are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it. So you want me to pick a number?
All right. So you pick a number from 1 to 50.
Sure. Let's go 36.
Okay. So number 36, in your opinion, what is the most important personality trait or strength that someone would need to work in your industry to be successful in your job?
I would say resilience or persistence. Like that sort of the person that can just keep going and needs to be a little bit stubborn about, I'm not going to be wavered about whether or not, it's not working right now. Because for a lot of people, most businesses, it's going to take 6, 12 months, 18 months to really get going. As much as we all promote, make money in 90 days type of things, for a lot of people to set everything up and really get going, it takes a while. And there's a lot of things that get in the way that make you want to stop. And I just think that the people that really succeed are the people that just keep going. Like they're not listening to other stuff. They're even ignoring some stuff that maybe logically sounds like the right kind of thing. Like, oh, why don't you go get a job? Why don't you do this? Just like, no, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this work.
Yeah.
And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's the kind of trait that you need more than anything else.
Yeah. And I would add consistency, because if you're not consistent with what you're doing, then it doesn't matter if you were saying you're attempting for 18 months, the actual actions behind that persistence, the actual actions behind all of that, so that you're actually doing something, not just saying, yeah, I own a business, but doing something about it.
Yeah, 100%. Like it can't just be I'm making this work, I'll make it work no matter what. And then you're working 1.5 hours a day. That's not really being resilient. That's just, I suppose that's the fine line, isn't it? Between being, the good kind of stubborn and just being dumb about it.
Well, and if you really think about it, 1.5 hours a day for over a 40-week period, you're going to get a full week's worth of work out of that 40 weeks. So, it's going to take you a whole lot longer to build your business if you don't put more time and effort into it.
100%. And that costs you more money down the line anyway. Like I see,
it does.
Like I think the amount of people that don't want to invest more money, more time in the beginning to really get it going, and they're trying to start the business from like the ideal situation, like, oh, I started a business so I'd only have to work 4 or 5 hours a week. It's like, that's great in the beginning, like do more so that you can get to that point. Like don't try to make that a thing right away. Like accept that it might be not the ideal situation in the beginning just to get it going. I think I've seen a lot of people like that are looking for that like ideal situation right away, right from the bat.
Yeah. Let's see, next number,
Yeah. 41.
41. So you're not even going for the easy ones. Just start going down the slope.
Let's go down the slope.
What is one thing about your job or your field of expertise that almost no one agrees with you about?
That no one agrees with me about.
Almost,
That is a tough one. I've
almost
gone
no
right
one,
down the
because
slope
I don't
too
ever
early.
go with the never things. So almost.
Yeah. I would say there's, in terms of this whole population kind of thing, there's a lot of people that really, really don't get how social media could get you clients. Like for them, it's like, they just look at social media as like this toxic thing that they need to like, they recognize they need to post on, but they don't see it as something that's like, that has the ability to be able to connect with other people. And at the end of the day, like, that's exactly the same thing as in person, getting to know people and trying to network kind of thing. So I suppose like for me, that would be it. Cause I just think that to me, it's just a tool. Like it's just, if you let it rule you and you're consuming, 2 hours of TikTok every day, 1 hour of scrolling on Facebook and Instagram, like I can see where you come from, where it's, starts to become toxic because it's taking up too much of your life. But on the other side, there's so much ability there to be able to just connect with more people, and the opportunity from that to be able to get clients from it, to be able to build a business from it is 100% there. And looking at content is just a thing to post, like, and just leave it. And like, clients will come to me. That's just how it happens kind of thing. It's very, I suppose, with all of those things, it would just be the perspective of social media. Because I think a lot of people, that they want to get clients from it, but they don't quite get it. But they hate social media. They don't really see the opportunity that's really there.
Yeah, there's billions and billions of people that are on social media. So to not take advantage of at least having your business on social media, at least having some, things that are there and stuff for people to be able to connect with, because even brick and mortars need the social presence. It's the way to actually run ads, is to be able to have it out there. But I agree with you. A lot of people, and the same thing happens with ads and stuff, that organic marketing doesn't work. Nobody wants to work with me. Nobody's responding. It's that for me mentality that they have to get past that and get to that point where either part of it is a mindset shift, and we've all gone through the mindset shift. And part of it is also being strategic about what you're doing, because just posting to post doesn't usually bring in your clients. You need to actually be strategic about what you're posting and when you're posting and where you're posting and how often you're posting and how much you're engaging in those posts after the fact. How much are you engaging with these potential clients after the fact? Like, Jobe and I didn't run across each other just by chance. It was actually seeing a post, commenting on the post, and then we're dropping in the DMs and we're talking back and forth there. And it's developing those relationships before, hey, do you want to buy my product? And so it's those, that's what drives me crazy and stuff on a lot of the people that are just dropping into the DMs and saying, hi, I do all of this, now hire me. And it's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, so
Yeah. And I think
relationship first.
I think that's the thing that gives everyone that bad,
Yeah, and then they
that
wonder
negative
why they don't have
stigma.
clients.
Yeah. And it's like, I've had some people where first start, we have to shift their perspective around like, oh, well, why are we doing these actions? Like, all of these people going to become clients? It's like, no, they all won't. Like even with when we're running ads, like
Mhm.
not every single one of those people that see the ad or opt in will become a client. Like there's still so many phases of like seeing if they are a fit and nurturing them beforehand. And even beyond that, there's so much. I've met some of the best people in my life through social media now. Like people that are just doing some amazing things in their business. And they're not clients, they're just, some of them are clients, but some of them are just peers. And, we didn't even need to go into whether or not we were going to work together. We've just helped each other out. So I think having that perspective of, either you're a client or you're not kind of thing is holding people back a lot as well. Like the fact that you couldn't just have a conversation with someone and it doesn't necessarily lead to them become a client or
Right.
collaborating together. Like it can just be a good conversation. Like, there's a few strategies and other things with messaging and like how to get to the bottom of whether or not someone is a fit. But at the end of the day as well, it is just a conversation. Like the amount of people that are like fearful of like having a conversation with someone, and it's like, you know, is it harder because you're not in like a networking room and you're not like forced to go up so that you're not the lonely person in the room? Like you can kind of hide. I'm not sure, but I think, yeah, just starting to shift it around and just go like, it's actually just having a conversation with someone, seeing if we get along, seeing if there's anything that we can help each other with, or if they know anyone that I may be able to help or they may be able to help. Like it's really as simple as that.
Yeah, I've had some networking calls with people that they're not my ideal client. They're not going to end up being customers with me. But because we talk, then I refer people to them. They refer people to me. They actually know who I am and what I'm about, and vice versa. And so it ends up being somebody who can still be beneficial to you to have in your life or to have in your business. And anymore, how do you meet, the new friends and stuff that might come into your life, or new people that might come into your life? And a lot of, people are turning to different apps and things and stuff to connect people, and social media is no different. It's another app that basically has just been around a little longer, and it's extending yourself to those people.
100%. I completely agree with
All right, next number.
that. Let's go 28.
Moving up a little bit. Oh goodness. What do you think the world will look like in 50 years? You think about
Ooh.
the last 50. Oh my gosh, all the things that have actually
Mm.
transpired.
I do think in the next 50 years, we're going to see a big shift with how I'll say consume social media, consume the internet. Like I do think a lot of that is going to become this whole, as much as it seems like a joke at the moment, the whole metaverse
Mhm.
type of thing. I think that will become something. I think it'll take 50 years for like the proper metaverse, people have land and looking at it like that. But I think potentially it may not be a terrible thing for like that to become more popular. Like you're actually walking around, you can kind of feel like you're having a normal interaction. But then when you switch off and you're in the real world, maybe our phones won't become as attached to our hip. Maybe social media will kind of be more, restricted to the metaverse. That's just where it kind of happens. Like there's so many theories I could go down with that style of thinking, but I think there's more of that. I think there's going to be more. I think there's going to be a lot more shift in like the wealth distribution in most countries. I think that we'll see a lot of people. I think we'll see a lot more people that are very, very well off. And I think we'll see a lot of like I think we'll see sort of like less middle class people in some of the Western societies. I think that'll sort of start to shift because I think a lot of people are going to go into business. I think that there's a lot more information out there now around wealth management, that some people will do really, really well from it, and some people that aren't probably will need a lot more help. So it's probably a bit dystopian from that view. But when I think of the next 50 years, it's probably just how I start to think about a few things, which, I think goes into how important it is now, like to really make use of the opportunities that we have now. Because it's like, if you're confused by the metaverse now or what that would look like and starting a business through there, then you really need to make use of social media now or start learning about that.
Mhm.
And then the other side, with money, it's like, I do think that there needs to be a lot more urgency now around getting more control over your finances and making sure that you're okay financially, and then you've got, how to create income, and how to build wealth. So I think that if you don't have that, I think it's going to be more and more detrimental in the next 20, 30, 50 years.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. My dad actually, he's still he's dumbfounded by computers. He doesn't like using a cell phone, but we finally got him to where he actually will use his cell phone occasionally. He loves TV, but he doesn't want to watch Netflix or Hulu or any of that because that's all the stuff that's not real. And he wants to watch things live and everything. And he's just kind of left things behind. And so I made a comment to him. I said, yeah, I just printed off a form. If you can sign it, I'll get it sent over to the company. And he goes, how are you going to do all that? And I said, through the computer and the printer and everything. And he goes, pretty soon we're just going to be ordering babies online. I just want a boy and for it to be born on this date at this time. And
Yeah.
this is what all I want. And can you just make that happen? And really, we're not that far off from doing that other than the 9 months
There's
you have
probably
to
someone
carry it.
working on it.
But it's just, he's just sitting there and he's so dumbfounded with it. And he's only 20 years older than I am. So, it's like, I can't imagine in 50 years what my kids or grandkids and stuff are going to end up experiencing, because the world has shifted just so much. And even in 10 years, 20 years and stuff, it's just shifted so much. And we've grown so much as a country, but there's so much more still to do as well. And I know that you're not in our country, but I know that even in Australia and stuff, you guys have had a lot of challenges and a lot of growth as well.
Yeah, 100% we have. And it's interesting to think about how resistant to change we will be, whether we'll be similar. I think that we're a bit more open. I think there's always resistance to a bit of change, but I think in terms of technology, I think that things are like things that want to succeed now have to start off extremely user friendly. So I think that in terms of tech, I think that we'll be able to adapt things a bit easier. I'm sure there will still be a few people that are resistant, but like, I mean, the leap from like your phone to the metaverse, I think, isn't as drastic as, say, the radio to your phone. Like, so I think that, and everything that the phone is capable of. So I think that I hope that we'll be okay compared when all
think
of those changes come.
I think the people that are accepting change now and that are, absorbing, okay, this is what we do in social media, this is what we do on this, and you're actually moving with the times, or at least we think we are, then at least hopefully we will be more adaptable to being able to take on, new challenges. But there's going to be still that population that are just like my dad, who just is like, I'm good. I'll just go watch my TV like I was.
Yeah. And I think like there'll probably also be more restrictions on our children using social media, like, well, whatever is coming out. I think there's a little bit more like, just seeing the effects of all of it. Like, because I do think that it has to be managed well, because every app is looking to hack your brain
Yeah.
a little bit. So
Oh, yeah.
giving too much access to kids in that way, and just in terms of however that develops in the future, whether or not things are being developed a little bit more ethically, whether or not there's a little bit more awareness from the parents' point of view of like, I don't want to I'm not going to put like the VR goggles on my 6-year-old yet,
Right.
because I want them to understand the difference between the real world and this thing. So like, there may be less like full-on adaptation from like a younger age, because I think we might restrict that a little bit as well, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think there's already a group of people who are trying to like, here, go experience the real world, go run around, go do the things that make you happy and healthy, and then come in and you get like a little bit of time and stuff that you might be able to watch TV a little bit, versus we sit in front of the TV for I don't know how many hours a day whenever I was a kid. And then yes, we went out and we rode our bikes and stuff too, but we spent so much time in front of the TV where we probably wouldn't have, 10 years, 15 years earlier.
Yeah, 100%. I'm terrible at TV. I've had to try to break that habit a lot. Like, it's weird when you start to think like, and just technology and games and stuff in general. I grew up with, attached to my Game Boy and then like the Nintendo and everything like that. So it was like, now like I have friends that go like, oh, have you play this new game, you got this, like I don't get them in the house, because I will genuinely still play like 100 hours or something in a week if
Yeah.
I really like it.
I
So
remember
like I just don't get them in the house. Yeah, same.
So another question, and then we'll get to this final four. So where you want to get?
Well, what's 50?
All right, 50. What would you tell your younger self, your like 18 to 21-year-old self, that would make a difference in who or where you are today?
I'd probably try and give them the Tats Lotto numbers, but did you guys have Tats Lotto in America? You probably, maybe it's called something different. Nah, it's still called Tats Lotto.
I think.
Or the lottery, like
Yes, we have a lottery.
Yeah, that's just what our lottery is called here. I wasn't sure if that was in America as well.
We have a lottery. We have several different lotteries.
No, I think if I was to talk to my 18-year-old self, it would be I'd try and change my perspective on what I viewed as successful, because I was very a lot of my decisions were made around trying to feel successful, which was also driven, like I saw that as being really rich, which led me to chase like a uni degree and a job that I didn't really want. So I sort of went along that path for a while. I tried to become pro poker player for a while, and then got into gambling. So and then started again into business, and then eventually, after about 3 years in business, started to actually see what I wanted. Started this business because I wanted to actually feel more fulfilled from what I was doing, and actually work with people rather than just chasing money. But all of those things have to happen the way they did. So it's like a catch-22 of like, I'd love to say that and maybe save myself some time, but also, I think you have to go through those things. So it's like, I would, if I had to, that's what I would say. But if I have the option as well, I'd probably just let it play out exactly how it played out.
So we got 4 more questions. These are going to be asked of everybody. So what are 3 other podcasts, movies, or books that you would recommend to the audience, and why?
$100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi is probably the best book I have read in terms of just looking at business in general.
I actually just that
Um,
one a couple of weeks ago.
it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Traffic Secrets from Russel Brunson, I think is really good, just because I think it gives a really good, everyone's trying to look at how to do, not really looking at their funnel or like how they're getting clients the right way. They're looking at like, I'll run challenge, I'll put this thing out, blah, blah, blah. But they're not thinking about where am I actually getting the traffic from? Where are the people coming from? So I think that book actually gives you a really good breakdown of how to look at that stuff.
Mhm.
The other one, trying to think of something that's not a book potentially, but I think most of my stuff is just books. I would probably go with spin selling, because I think that it gives a really good, this is, I'm also probably talking to people that books I'd want my clients to read, but like I think spin selling gives a really good breakdown of like high ticket versus low ticket selling. So I think that it gives a really good look at selling from the point of view of like full context, because sometimes you can read sales related books and they're talking about something like tactics and stuff that would work if you're selling something for $100, $200 or less. And if you're selling something that's like $5,000, $10,000, you need, it's completely different. So you need that kind of context. I think those two books are a really good place to start. Because if you know where to get traffic from, if you've got a really good offer, and then you know how to sell, you're pretty much set.
Yeah. The spin selling I haven't read. The other two I have. And I agree. I mean, like, it made me rethink my offer after reading Alex Hermosi's book. And in terms of making sure that I was giving, like, I can't necessarily give a guarantee because with ads, there's really not a guarantee. But at the same time, what could I offer that would be above and beyond? What can I do to make it a no brainer? And that no brainer thing just really got to me of, how can I structure this to where it is a no brainer that of course they're going to jump on it. And so trying to actually work through some of that and develop that. And that's still kind of ongoing, but um, it definitely got me thinking more.
It was good too, wasn't, like, I feel like for the first third, or maybe the first half of the book, I'll say the first third, because I feel like it was awesome the whole way through.
Mhm.
I think you can kind of, because there's a lot of books I read and I'm like, I know that, and it feels like common sense, or it feels like something else you've learned. And it's like, there's a whole sort of like, knowing is the enemy of learning, which I've recently really enjoyed that saying, because I think a lot of the stuff in that book is like stuff that I think people understand, but they're not implementing, or they're
Right.
not like, and if you just having a different perspective about all of those different elements of your offer. So I did the same thing. I like, after about halfway through, I just started looking every chapter. I was like looking at my offer and rejigging a few more things. Like it, and it shapes how I create every single one of my offers now as well.
It's so funny because as you're reading it and stuff, then I just hear the car salesman though that, and that's not all, or the it's like I don't want to sit there and hear this, but at the same time, that's kind of the thought process that goes through my mind. And so it's like, okay, it's still legitimate. And there's so much psychological value in it of how to actually make sure that you are offering something and how you get the people to actually listen to what you're offering.
Yeah, 100%. I think that like there's a few people that are trying to steer away from seeming a certain way and
Mhm.
seeming like other people, and it's like, I get it. you want to stand out and be different kind of thing, but at the same time, that's what works. Like you just need to, like, the only time that whole like offer stack of like that, or that like, yeah, and this, the only time you don't enjoy that is when the and this is stuff that you don't want. So if they're adding in stuff that you're excited about, that you actually want specific to you, then you love hearing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like making sure that if you're offering something good, and it's just about how to communicate it well. The only time it doesn't work is when you haven't hit the mark. You're not selling something people want.
Right. The value isn't really needed to be able to offer it anyway.
Yeah, maybe not. That's a harsh truth for some people to look at, but sometimes that's something we need to look at. And
Yeah.
sometimes just communicating it differently too. I think like, some just positioning it just a little bit differently rather than, I've got a lot of course creators that had to switch their thing around. Oh, I've got like, hundreds of videos or hundreds of hours of content, or I've got, it's going to be hard work to get all of these things done, but it'll be like really good when you get it done. And it's like, man, you're not making this sound great at all. It sounds like a lot of work to do it. Like, let's just change it up, make it sound more appealing kind of thing. It's just, we don't have to focus on the stuff that's you think is good, but really it's pushing people away. Sometimes that's the case.
Yeah. So what's one thing you tell your paid clients that you can share with us today?
Something I tell my paid clients. I think I there's a lot of things I still share free. That I think really the paid clients just sort of get more in depth specific to them. But I would say one of the biggest things is not just looking at your marketing from point of view of like who's ready right now, and creating content that's actually going to influence people, not in a negative way, but like actually being able to communicate what's stopping them from investing or taking action is actually costing them, what that's actually like. If you can effectively communicate that, you open yourself up to a much broader audience. Like I see a lot of people that they're going for, let's just say coaches and consultants, for example, as like a really broad niche, because it is, and they're talking about an offer that is like specifically for ready to buy people, and it's only a very particular kind of coach, but they're just directing it those kind of people all of the time. And then there's like the other 97% of coaches that might be interested and might really need that kind of help, but they just don't see the value of organic marketing. They don't see the value of paid ads. They have this objection around like, paid ads have to cost $10,000, or it has to take 6 months of spending money to make it work, or people don't actually buy from Facebook ads. Like all of those could be beliefs that are going on in their head. So like if you're constantly creating content that's like value of like how to create ads, or like how important ads are, but there's never anything around like addressing those kind of objections, then you're just leaving this massive audience of people that aren't that like, you're just hitting a brick wall when you're trying to promote something that they don't actually believe in. Like all you're doing is reinforcing their negative belief that this thing doesn't work. And it's the same on organic marketing. Like, oh, it has to take 10 hours a day to get it working. You have to do all this stuff in other Facebook groups, and like you have to constantly be promoting yourself. You have to cold DM people. Like all of those things are things that we can address in content in our marketing, so that we can just shift people's perspective on it, rather than me saying, this is all the money that you can make from organic marketing. Organic marketing needs to be done before paid ads. Like, I'm trying to sell them on buying right now instead of trying to shift their belief. Like, it's subtle, and I know that, again, it's probably one of those things that, like, it makes sense. But I think if people really apply that into the content that they're putting out at the moment, or even in some of the paid marketing that they have, whatever that campaign is going to look like, they will start to see a lot more people over time reaching out, getting back on board, like just playing the long game rather than always trying to go straight for people that are ready to buy now.
Hmm. What is one question that you wish I'd asked you, and how would you answer?
These are good questions, Sharon. One question that I wished you asked.
I actually heard this asked at a leadership conference, and the main speaker had already gone that morning, and he was sitting over at a table and stuff next to me, and there was a panel of experts that were sitting up there, and he actually was asked, he stood up and asked the panel and stuff this question, and the panel were just like, well, what is one question that you wish? They turned it back on the main speaker. And he's just like, no, this is your guys' question. But the thought process behind it is just, part of it is making sure that you get to say what you want to say and stuff whenever you're being interviewed with things. But then it's also, that, those little things and stuff that's like, I've never been asked this question, and I really wish that somebody would have asked me this question. And so just kind of giving people an opportunity to say what they need to say, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I like the question as well, because there's a saying around, like, the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. And often the people that, are earlier on, then just not asking the right questions to the people that might be able to answer them. Like, they're asking some basic questions instead of asking the bigger questions that would help them more. But
you don't
I
know what
think,
to ask if you don't know what things are, it's so
no,
it's
100%, 100%. So
yeah.
that's why it's a very good question. I think, look, I think there's some will probably come to me right after this interview, but I would say, like, how do you actually grow on, like, how do you choose which platform to go on, and how do you use those platforms? Because I think there's a lot of people that are saying, like, only do one platform, which is completely true for people that have no idea about social media and aren't ready to, like, invest money into, like, being able to optimize their time for more platforms as well. Because I got a lot more success from being on more platforms, that they just all started helping each other out. Like, just that omnipresence of, like, people were seeing me on Facebook, and then they were also seeing TikTok videos, because it was that whole, like, people you may know type of thing. And same from, like, the people that we're connecting with on LinkedIn then come and join the Facebook group. So I think, like, my view on what platform to use initially is, like, yes, get, like, one simple lead gen thing, make sure that, like, you're optimizing that, and that's getting you clients first based on where your client's going to be hanging out. But also recognizing that if you could hit people at all of the different platforms, you could really be reaching them at, like, every part of the day. Like, someone that's on, and people are on multiple platforms. It's just that they aren't typically on all of them at the same time and for the right reason that you might want to be reaching them at that point. So, like, I might get a lot of my like client acquisition through LinkedIn and Facebook, but and because like they're during the workday, that's when they're actually like, thinking about that sort of stuff. That's when they're having those kind of conversations. That's what might lead to a call right away. But they might have also seen a few of my reels, a few of my TikToks that have hit them when they're just like scrolling in bed at night, and then they jump on, they check out a few more of the videos, and they might be able to quickly consume 7, 10 pieces of content really quickly. And I suppose that's like all of these different touch points. Like when people say like, oh, someone needs like 7, 10 touch points to become a client, it's like that can be done really, really quickly. Like there's people that I've jumped into their programs really quickly just because like they showed me enough content within a short amount of time that made me see them as credible as an authority. So in that way, I think it's like not trying to look at like, oh, this platform doesn't work or this platform doesn't work. It's looking at how they can all work together and how to create content specifically for those platforms as well, rather than like, I created a TikTok video and I just posted it across all of the platforms kind of thing. And that style may not necessarily work on Facebook and LinkedIn type of thing. It does translate pretty well across to Reels, but yeah, so that's probably where I want to land. It's still a little bit broad, but I think a lot of people are looking for like really direct answers around this sort of stuff. And I think it's going like, all right, it's not that only one platform ever. It's get one going and optimize it, and then look at how you can add in other things. And it's just that traffic side of it. Because if you can grow on multiple platforms organically, that when you do start running paid on top of already having all of these platforms, it's ridiculous. Like it's so much easier than people that have never seen you anywhere else and only can maybe see your Facebook posts every now and then.
I feel like one of the biggest compliments to give people that are out there and doing stuff is, oh my gosh, you're everywhere. Because you do want to be acknowledged for the fact that you are doing all of this work. But, and so I have commented and stuff to a lot of coaches and everything that have been like everywhere. But the kind of kick to that and stuff is, if you are on the social media platforms, make sure that you are using them. Because if you're on LinkedIn and you haven't posted in the last 6 months, but you're posting all the time on Facebook, they may not check Facebook to see if you're still posting. And so make sure that you actually are posting a little bit of something, that the last content that you made wasn't a couple of years ago or something. Because if you actually do create it, make sure that you're actually active on it for at least a little bit of time, so that you're not just having some deadness to that audience. Because sometimes people are checking you out and they're seeing, what are they doing over here? And what are they doing over here? They want to consume your content. And if your content's not available, they're thinking, well, is this really real? And so making sure to stay up on that.
100%. And even on top of that as well, like I'll add to my answer, like I'm not looking at multiple platforms as having to be heaps and heaps more work. Like if you have a good content strategy, like if you know what kind of things you want to be posting, really like once you start utilizing video, you can genuinely like we put how much we would put out 150, 200 different videos every month, and it doesn't require more than like an hour a week from me, just because that's the system that we've set up. So like it's not, I think some people looking at it like they may take 3 hours to write one Facebook post because they feel like they've got imposter syndrome, they've got writer's block, they're really stuck there. I think there's ways to extract that content a lot easier and get your time down. So you can be doing heaps and heaps of output without 10, 20 hours of work. So I think just it doesn't have to be like that to be on multiple platforms.
Right. So this is the last question. We're going to have all of your contact information included with the podcast so that if anybody wants to get a hold of you, then they can. But what would you like to leave the listeners with?
I think just really make use of the opportunity in front of us now. Because I think like right now, I'm not sure when this will be posted, but we've got Facebook really the reach is really starting to die down. We're not really sure how that will turn out in the next 2 years. It's still going to kick for a while, regardless of how people see it. TikTok, the opportunity is there now to grow organically. Same with Reels, or grow organically a lot more than you could. That's just going to get harder and harder every year as those platforms do what they naturally do and start to decrease the organic reach. And if you want people to see more of it, you're going to have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think just have to make use of those things now. Like I'm not someone about like grind and hustle, but I'm also not like, it's okay to, take a month off and not post and, do it when you feel like it, kind of thing. Like there's a massive opportunity in front of us on all of the platforms, depending on what your strategy and stuff is. Now is the best time. Like 2 years from now, it will be so different. And unless another platform comes that gives people a lot of organic reach, I think that it's going to be a lot more pay to play. And at that stage, it's going to be harder for new people to come into the game and start running paid ads because they're not sure what works organically as well. So like, I'm extremely urgent about need to jump in now.
There's the dog that decides that she wants to make the appearance.
Yeah, it's like
okay, you're done
interview's over. Yeah.
Well, Jobe, thank you so much for being on today. And thank you, listeners. And we will talk to you next time.
Thank you for having me.